Hey guys, how you doing today? Oh, just like true Canadian fashion, right? Weather snapped right back down. So, had some beautiful days, now we're in the cold days. The only piece of news I think is worth reporting on is that I hit 300 subscribers today. Da, 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 da. The channel is growing, we're doing it. To give you a sense of the speed of the growth of the channel, it took me about a year to get 100 subscribers doing what I'm doing. Took me about a month to get to 200, and then it took me another month to get to 300. So congratulations to us. Uh, I honestly just want to take this time to kind of discuss what the heck is going on. Like, why is it that all of a sudden this channel is in a state of any growth whatsoever? Why is it that people are caring? Why is it people are listening? And I think it just comes down to this basic reality that we all know is true. We all know that our society is calcifying. We all know that our society is in this sort of state of free fall decline. And moreover, we all know that we're not here to wake up, go to a job to make somebody else super rich, somebody else that we've never met, somebody that we don't know, and then go home for 2 hours, watch a TV show or something, go to sleep, and then wake up and do it all over again, right? We know that we're not here to do that. We know that in the core of our heart. Like, I recently did a video a couple days ago about religion and about that kind of existential existence and our place in our existence and what we are. And I don't usually talk about that kind of stuff, but it's really inspired the way I think recently. And it's really gotten me thinking about like the nature of this channel and the nature of what's going on and why there's this growth and why people are thinking this way. And it's because we all know that what we're doing is nonsense, right? We all know that our day-to-day lives have become nonsense. We don't even need to think in grand scale ways. When you go to work and you look at the people you're working with, you all intrinsically know that what you're doing is nonsense, right? You all intrinsically know that. And you all intrinsically know that if you all got together and tried to create a union or create some kind of organized body in order to do something about it, you know that the powers that be would prevent that from happening, right? You know that there would be a fight. You know that there would be a struggle. You know you live your life in a state of constant antagonism and constant oppression. And the only reason it's not aggressive and destructive and overt is because we're all just cowardly going along with it. We're all just walking along, doing this day-to-day grind that serves no purpose but to make numbers go up in some guy's bank account who you'll never meet, right? You barely even know who these people are. And yet you've sacrificed your whole life to it. You've sacrificed everything you are in order to make them wealthy. And we're getting to the point now, like I'm almost 40. And that's all I've ever done, right? All I've ever done is attempt to pursue any kind of creative and artistic impulse that exists inside of me, while simultaneously just trying to pay my bills. It's nonsense. We could do better. If you're one of the people who duck out of these videos about the 5-minute mark, please leave a subscription. Please leave a like. This is a swiftly growing channel because I speak about the day's news from the communist perspective, which is explicitly that the capitalist system has failed. It doesn't work. It never worked. It perpetuates itself through slavery, violence, and war, and theft of resources. The only people who actually think that capitalism has worked are the people who are willing to sacrifice their lives day to day to ensure that white supremacy and imperialism continue in the world, right? So, thanks for coming. Hope you're doing well. So, what are we here to do, right? We know we're not here to just grind our lives into worthless jobs that enrich people we don't know. And enrich is even an odd word because, like, these people are going to die. They're going to pass their generational wealth down to people who have never worked a day in their lives and who are going to be completely detached and have no concept of what work or effort or organization even looks like, right? That what they do, they will consider work, even though it is completely worthless and has nothing to do with the civil society. And we're all just going to have to put up with that until we all collectively realize that we as humans can create our own reality, right? This is one of the great talking points that doesn't get spoken about at all. We can literally forge our own reality, but we're being told that we have to do it as individuals. And the reason we're told that we have to do it as individuals is because as long as you do it as individuals, it doesn't work, right? Because your vision or your idea of what reality should look like is going to run in to what someone else's vision of reality looks like, especially in a system like capitalism, which is designed to have antagonism in it, right? You have owners. You are owned. You work for people who want to pay you $0 and make you work all your time, right? Never forget, capitalists would gladly keep your children in coal mines if they could, right? They would pay you $0 if they could, right? They would ensure that you had a room and food and that is it. And then they would send you out into the cotton fields, right? They would send your children into mines. The only reason this doesn't exist is because of the work of socialists and communists. The capitalists want to keep you in chains for the entirety of your life for the one specific reason. You do all the work and they do nothing, right? That's the perfect arrangement for the capitalist class. And as long as we exist in that system, we can never actually create the reality that exists in our hearts and in our minds, right? That the great mistake that the capitalists made is that they actually went ahead and educated a lot of us, right? That a lot of us were permitted to extend our education outside of the banal, and we're actually permitted to study the humanities, even though we were mocked and ridiculed for it. We were permitted to actually look into what it is to be a human in the world. We were permitted to actually exist in the world in an existential way. We weren't simply cogs and automatons doing the bidding of the master class while they go and do whatever it is they think they should do. You know, like create pedophile rings, that kind of thing. The takeover of our society, of this small group of worthless sociopathic parasites, is holding back the future evolution and the future movement of our society. There's just no two ways about it. Every individual and every human being has in their heart and has in their mind an idea of what the world should look like. And as long as we are not permitted to come together and actually discuss what that should look like, as long as we're not permitted to actually articulate the realities of how the society is structured, as long as we are kept separate and isolated, as long as we are not permitted to unionize, as long as we are not permitted to cooperate with one another, then the society is going to continue its great decline, as it must. Because if you empower 5 or 6 sociopaths and disempower the rest of the society and enslave them to the will of these sociopaths, then most of society is going to degrade and fall into simple entropy, right? Forget about a conscious, persistent desire to crush people's lives out, although I'm positive that the sociopath class absolutely has that. The simple act of entropy will collapse the society, right? There's nobody who's actually upkeeping the roads. There's nobody who's actually upkeeping the infrastructure. There's nobody who's actually making sure that people who don't have billions and billions of dollars are actually taken care of. So all of this falls into entropy, and we know it. right? We intrinsically know it in our heart. You can see it, you can feel it. And if you stand up in your workplace where you spend most of your lives and you articulate this to the other workers who are around you, you're fired, right? You're let go, you're sent out, right? This is dangerous talk. This is dangerous talk. You can't talk this way in a workplace where you spend most of your lives pretending you live in a free society while you're enslaved to a billionaire who takes all of your profits and all of your surplus value while paying you barely enough to pay your food and rent if you're lucky, right? And that's if you have the full-time job, right? That's if you manage to get the full-time job. Now we're talking about people who are working 2-3 jobs just to get that subsistence level wage, right? We shouldn't accept this. And yet we do every single day. And yet we tolerate it every single day. When we know that we are divine creatures attempting to discover what we are here for and what we are about and what this all is. We are attempting to contemplate and discover and learn, and that takes effort and time and communication and conversation, right? To come together in solidarity and have giant cultural moments where we all agree that there are explicit values that are built into the way we think. This is not an easy task to do, but we're all busy making lattes and flipping burgers and distributing goods so that we can distract ourselves from this basic task of learning. Why are we here? What is this all about? What are we part of, right? And as long as we are completely kept from discovering even our most base humanity, as long as we're kept from this most basic human function by a capitalist class who's more interested in erecting institutions like Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile rings, instead of actually erecting institutions to allow us to communicate to one another freely and openly, then we're going to constantly be enslaved. We're going to constantly live in a state of fear and oppression and this malaise that exists in us, where all we do with all of our time is work for idiots we've never met in our lives, and then go home and watch some idiot show, right? To distract us from the ridiculous, low-key horror of our lives, right? We've been given this enormous gift, this gift of life, this divine beauty that we live in. And instead of even being able to spend a moment connecting with it, living in it, experiencing it, no, you got to go stare at a computer screen in a cubicle. You got to go stand in a Wendy's, right? Stand in a Timmy's, right? Run around grabbing food for people, right? And that's what you have to do most of the time so that you can even have a house. It truly is a testament to the core burning desire in humanity to survive, that we're willing to do this stuff just to stick around in a place that we are alienated from and that we are excluded from. That the capitalist class wants to keep us that way. They don't want us to begin to experience this world in an existential way. They don't want us to begin to look around and discover the institutions that they've erected. They don't want us to realize that Jeffrey Epstein was just one of many, right? Jeffrey Epstein's just the one we know about, you guys, right? Like, that's what capitalists want to build. And soon they'll be doing it openly, and soon they'll be doing it nakedly. Because eventually we just simply won't have the power to stop them. Okay, this is going to be the end of this video. If you guys made it to this point, you got to like it, you got to share it, you got to subscribe, you got to send it around. This is a swiftly growing channel, and it's growing for one specific reason. You know the world around you could be better. You know that's true. And you know that there's a parasite class that's sucking away our lives, right? This channel exists for solidarity purposes, and hey, while I close it out, you're doing wonderfully. Don't let these guys gaslight you. They absolutely will. They're going to gaslight entire societies and try and convince you that other nations are evil. Of course they're going to gaslight you and try to convince you you're evil. Good luck. We're going to need it.